Just two announcements real quick. If you remember, please be sure to get a hold of Judy to sign up to sit at the table at the exhibition hall for the fair. I know some of you already have. And our program next month is on Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Okay, this is out of the way. It is my great pleasure to introduce my friend, Robert Storey.
Your young friend.
But my former friend, Robert Storey, president for how many years of the Cumberland?
Since 2000 or 2001.
And he's done an incredible job with our cemeteries. So please welcome Robert Storey.
Thank you, Caroline. Okay, tonight we're going to take a snapshot of, we're going to look at a snapshot of about the last 80 years of minutes of meetings of our cemeteries, and among some other things. But there's some pretty interesting little ditties here that we'll see in the minutes, and also I know it says 6 public cemeteries. I know the town crier said 5. It's really 6, so we're good. And I'm not sure just how fast this will go. I think depending on how much conversation we have, you know, will kind of determine how fast it goes. Okay, this has a story with it. This is the register of the Cumberland Cemetery Association, which was formed in 1933. This book has always been in the possession of our secretary, our clerks over the years. And in about 2003, I guess 2004, we had a clerk who came over to my house and told me, he said, "I'm terribly sorry." He says, the bag with the book, he says, all the books, he says, I put at the bottom of the stairs, and the cleaning lady put it out with the recycle stuff. And so we thought that was the end of it. Several years later, he sold his house, brings stuff down from the attic. Luckily, the bag with the book and everything, and just about everything you're seeing here tonight would have been gone if that had really gone out to the cleaning lady. Anyhow, this stuff is all in possession of Thomas at the library now for safekeeping. And but Peter McKinney, who was our treasurer and secretary for quite a while, he compiled all these notes, put them in electronic format for us. And there's some of the stuff we're seeing will be his comments as well as what was actually written. So, like I said, the association was formed in 1933, and there was the little book that was published in 1933 when it was formed. We are a 501c. It's a nonprofit. We'll be looking for a new treasurer in the near future. If anybody's interested in the treasurer's job, Valerie Courier is our current treasurer, doing a great job, but she wants to ease into retirement. So if anybody knows anybody who would like to be treasurer, let us know. It's a tough job. It's a big job, and it's more than just keeping a checkbook. You know, it's IRS reporting and the whole bit, and we have several savings accounts and things to manage. And also, my job is up for grabs when anybody's ready. We'll, you know, I'd like to ease out and ease somebody else in. I'm 76 years old, almost as old as Carolyn, but you know. Oh, she's gone. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. Okay. What you see next here is from the little book about the association. Essentially, the association was formed to manage the sell lots, take care of the lots, care of the cemetery, care of the monies, this type of thing. And prior to that, there was a cemetery commission that went back to probably 1870. We can't find much on the commission. They would submit bills, huge bills, you know, sometimes $1.50, $2 to the to the town every year, get those paid. Yeah, and as near as I can tell, there's probably somebody associated with each cemetery that was on the commission. We had Shebig Island back then. We had Shebig Island till about 20 years ago. And so each island had somebody to look after it. Let me go back here. And anyhow, in 1934, Gertrude Bragg made a presentation to the town and telling about the association had been formed, and you know, it was up and running. And she also reported some. They didn't have much money back then. I think she said there was no money was raised by the town that year, so the town gave nothing. There was a little bit of money came forward from the commission, a little bit the town held, but they had some huge expenses that year. They had to buy a lawnmower and shears at Sears for $8.43, and there's other things, labor, that type of thing that they had to pay. And over the years, the purple or pink, whatever you want to call it, was our expenses. The yellow, solid yellow, was income, and the little railroad train was town appropriation. We'll talk about in a little bit about buying land from Medley Watson from the front of in the front of Foreside Cemetery. You'll see that year our expenses went sky high, preparing the front of Foreside for new, you know, upgrading that, taking the trees out, the brush out, and that type of thing. And so right after then, you know, down went the income and everything. And later, you see here, income was really low. That's the year we bought out Shebig Island. Shebig Island became its own town. It was our 7th cemetery. And then there was what they called the McCall Fund. The McCall Fund was $10,000 that was left the Cemetery Association by a lady named McCall. And it was for care of lots on Shebig Island. It was originally for a smaller portion of the cemetery, but eventually they opened the fund up where it was available for the whole cemetery. So anyhow, when we bought out Shebig in about 2006, 2007, there was a formula the town had for divvying up the assets between Cumberland and Shebig. We gave Shebig Island back the $10,000 from the McCall Fund, and we also gave them about 13%, I believe, of our assets. That was a number the town had. So we gave Shebig Island about $41,000 at the time to leave, which was I'm sure a nice little chunk of change for Shebig Island getting started, taking care of the cemeteries. Okay. I hear a lot about Perpetual Care. People tell me people have Perpetual Care. I'll probably be the first to tell you I don't know what Perpetual Care is. And the state requires us to have a Perpetual Care fund. They tell us how it has to be funded. When we sell a lot, at least 30% of the price of the lot has to go to the Perpetual Care fund. And we've chosen over the years to put 50% in to our Perpetual Care fund. So the fund is pretty well invested. It's it's with Fidelity, and it's doing quite well. And each year we take a distribution out of the Perpetual Care Fund and roll it into the operating side of the house. And what our Perpetual Care spending policy is, we take 3% of the 3-year average of our, as of the end of December, we take 3% of our 3-year average and roll it into operating. And that's a pretty good number. It's about $10,000 a year we roll from Perpetual Care Fund into the operating fund. And it had been growing every year until the last few years when the stock market kind of went south a little bit. But the thing is, the new number that come up on the 3-year average was about the same size as the number that was dropping off the tail end. So our distribution over the last 2 or 3 years has been relatively flat. So next year, when a smaller number drops off the tail end and a bigger number comes up, our distribution should start getting a little bit bigger again. So it'll be 10,000 and something. And so anyhow, the state tells us what Perpetual Care dollars can be used for, and it's obvious, you know, for mowing, road repair. It even allows for stone repair. We don't really advocate much for stone repair. The stones belong to the families, but at the same time, the families are gone. You know, these old families. Our oldest, you'll see in a minute, our oldest burials are 1798. So we can't contact these people to maintain our stones. So we do dump some money into stone repair as it allows. But we're more concerned with the mowing, which, as you know, this year has been terrible. I think we had 26 days of rain in June or something, and so our contractor, our maintenance contractor, he has 14 cemeteries in all his towns and everything, and recently they completed 1 cycle of mowing of all the cemeteries uninterrupted. It was the first time this year that hadn't been interrupted by rainstorms or whatever. So we're back on track at last to maintain these. And the cemeteries, I don't know how many of you have been in lately, but they've never looked better. They're nice and green this year, and well mowed, well trimmed right now. Okay. I don't know if you've all noticed these signs. A lot of our cemeteries didn't have signs in them. So I worked with Bill Shane, and I don't know if this was my design or not. I intended for it to be my design. Brian tells me somebody else has similar stones somewhere else. So these are set in, they're on a concrete base deep in the ground, and then they set on the concrete base, and then there's another 1.5 feet of concrete, and it's about a 2 foot by 4 foot. So these monuments are never going to move. They're we have them well anchored. So anyhow, the town actually funded all of these signs, which you know, we can take care of the cemeteries, we can take care of the roads, we can take care of a few things, but occasionally we have bigger expenses, and Bill Shane's been great in the council about helping us out. So Foreside, who's been in Foreside Cemetery? Okay. Foreside, if I was to write a description on what a New England cemetery should look like, it'd be Foreside. You go in, the big old pine trees, the church, you go in the right time of the year, get a view of the ocean, you've got a stone wall, you've got cedar fences, nice gravel road, old stones, new stones. It's a beautiful cemetery, and it's next to Moss Side. It's
really go in at night when it's foggy. Then you get
Did you see any ghosts? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Moss side, we placed that stone up kind of near the front. When you drive in, everyone gets to see the stone. And also, I didn't mention, but on the on each slide here, I put the two earliest burials. You can see Alvin Layton, Nancy Blanchard, and they date back to the 1830 area. Ferris, you've all seen the sign at Ferris, I'm sure. Right up there in the corner behind the Ferris sign is Abby Shaw and Ozina, I guess, Harris. So,
Question about the discrepancy in the dates there, with the earliest date being 1812 burial, but then was the cemetery established in 1830?
oh, geez, you're not supposed to see that. We're not changing it. We've got better information now than I had at the time we had the signs made. When I did the query the other day of the oldest ones, I knew somebody would get me. Thank you. Okay. And again, Universalist Cemetery. I don't know if Universalist doesn't see much activity. We haven't had a burial there in since I don't know when. We've got one coming up at some point for a Wilson, Brian Wilson, and but other than that, I don't know if we had a burial in 20 years, but we. There are rooms. The space is available. The space is available in all of our cemeteries except congregational. We don't sell in congregational. We have quite a few in the others, and in a minute we'll talk about how big these cemeteries are. The Cumberland, Morrison's Hill behind the church, on just above Mill Road. Okay, and then our last cemetery is Methodist, and Methodist was, I did a little better on the date. I got about 1810, and first burial was 1811, so I did a little better. And okay, you ask where the cemeteries are. Methodist is up just across the turnpike by Clayton Copse area, Methodist Road. Universalist is Morrison's Hill, Ferris by the fairgrounds, Congregational right here in the center at the center, and Moss side down Main Street, and then the Foreside right on the town line behind the church. And then there's a couple of private cemeteries in town. We don't really take care of the town private cemeteries. We're in no obligation to, and I will show you some slides where in I think 1956 or 65, maybe I got my numbers, that the association did dump some money into Allen Cemetery. For what reason? Nobody seems to know, but they had no obligation to, and they did it. I don't know if anybody knows the Butterworth family down on Middle Road, but Dale Butterworth wanted his own cemetery. So Dale died a few years ago, but before he died, he bought all the fence material and everything. And so since he's died, the family has built the cemetery and everything. So and they've got Dale, his wife, son-in-law, and 2 daughters are in the cemetery already, all cremations. Then the Allen Cemetery doesn't look so good anymore, and I don't know if this is kind of an old photo. I don't know if the families who bought the house actually did anything with the cemetery or not. Maybe some of you know. I don't. This is over on Wynn Road near the Cumberland-Falmouth line. Here we have Methodist, an aerial view of Methodist in 1965. It's a pretty good shot. And in addition, if we get a chance, I think the minutes will show, But in addition to what you see inside the fence here, we own about 15 feet behind the fence, continue on towards the turnpike and back out towards Blackstrap. We own another 100 feet. So the trustees had a lot of foresight in our cemeteries. We have extra land for the future in Methodist. We have land for the future at Foresight. We have land for the future at Moss-side. And at the rate we're selling lots now, we're probably good for another 300 or 400 years. So probably somebody else will be president by then. Okay. I'll show you this one. You can't really see it, but here's a quick one of this congregational in the center here. But here's a little better one. I assume this must have been taken from the steeple at the church. It was. Yeah. So Main Street, Greeley, everything looked different back then. Looks more like when Carolyn went to high school. Okay, here's a bit of a treasure we lost. The old Hearst house in Congregational. It was sitting on the ground. The floor rotted out. The sills rotted out. The roof rotted out, and everything. So, in the interest of safety, we had it torn down. We had to. And here, I believe this belonged to the town of Cumberland at one point. Do you think, Carolyn? Horse-drawn hearse, and apparently in around 1961, Irvin Morrow, who was the auctioneer in the town, he had possession of it. And you can see here it talks about Irvin, a picture of Irvin, and it was, I guess this must have been at the Redmonds Hall. And I don't know whether this is Irvin or not, sitting on the old hearse. Okay, jumping into some historical notes here. This was 1934. This was kind of funny. They set a price for single lots of $15, double lots $25, and the non-residents was twice this much. And the problem was there was no defined, no standard lot. Lots might have been 3 spaces, burial spaces, 3 graves. They might have been 12. And I think you'll see in 1936, I think they discovered, they blew it. Yeah. And but your cemeteries are comprised of sections, typically, and within the section are lots, and the lots contain like up to probably 12 graves, but maybe as little as 3 graves. So you can see if you bought one with 3 graves, you're not getting much of a deal. If you're getting one with 12 graves, you're getting a better deal. And actually, a few years ago, somebody, as near as I can figure out, went in the town office, wanted to buy a lot. They wanted to buy a space. They bought a lot, 12 spaces for the price of a space. And I think he told 2 or 3 of his buddies. And I haven't gone back and looked at the records. This was about 50 years ago, and but we have a better handle on sales now. More controls in place. I'm the only person who sells lots, and everything's it's all managed in a computer and everything. There's no buying 12. There's no buying 12 spaces for the price of 1. So yeah. So you snooze, you lose. Okay. 1935. The selectmen asked the town for $400 for the care of the cemeteries, and I don't really know if the town approved it or not. The town was historically a little stingy, but not anymore. with Bill Shane and the new council, things have changed. We're properly funded by the town. We do a lot more. We used to have to, 25 years ago, even the veterans flags, we didn't have money to buy. The town had to buy them. But now we're able to buy the flags. We're able to maintain our own roads within the cemeteries. A lot of the major tree removal we fund, and occasionally we do ask the town for to do a project or two. And this year, if the weather cooperates, we'll be upgrading the road in Forest Cemetery, which is a mess sometimes a year. It's pretty soft at times. And the other thing is we'll be going into Universalist on Morrison's Hill, and if anyone's tried driving into Universalist, you'll find you're driving over tree roots in the road like this high or whatever. So we're actually, instead of graveling the road, we're actually going to loam and seed right over the roots and make the so it can be mowed, well maintained, everything. So hopefully, if the loam piles dry out, that will get done this year. But loam is it comes out of the dump truck more like concrete than like wet concrete. Okay, this is what I meant to tell you. You can see in 1936, they went in and set prices for graves at $1.50 a grave. And like I said, there might be as many as 12 graves or spaces in a lot. So this straightened out where the lot size didn't matter anymore. It was, well, like I said, in 1934, they set a price for a lot, which they goofed. And that was taken care of in 1936. Harlan Sweetser, who was a town surveyor, and oh geez, I can't think of his buddy's name. There were two of them. It'll show up here. He proposed mapping the cemeteries, and he went in and mapped all the town cemeteries. And the thing is, he mapped the lots. At that time, still spaces never got marked out. Spaces never got, in the left-hand side of Methodist, spaces had been marked out, and most of Moss side spaces have been marked out. But other than that, the other cemeteries, spaces had never been defined until probably, I think I electronically mapped them in like 2013. So it went 80 years without cemeteries being mapped to the space level. So finally, every cemetery now is mapped right down to the space. Who goes onto the web page? Anybody? Does anybody? No. Oh, Bill Stiles. Great. Okay. Yeah. Our website might be still a little clunky. We could improve a little bit on with modern technology on our mapping, but that doesn't seem to be enough interest to do it at this time, fund it. But at some point, we should be able to go in, and if you're looking for your ancestor, you should be able to go right to the map, go in the map, back, forth, whatever, which I can do on our management system, cemetery management system. But we don't have that technology out there on the web yet. But now we do have the occupants of the cemetery printed in the on the town's website, and it will show they'll show the cemetery, the lot number, space number, the whole bit, and section number. So you'll be able to go right from, you'll take that information, you can go right to the map, and you can see on the map exactly where the person is you're looking for. And that's right at, you all have it right at your fingertips at home or on your iPhones or whatever. So if you're ever in the cemeteries looking for somebody, you can find the occupants list, and then you can find the map. Okay. Okay. not much activity here in 1941, but by 1941, the cemeteries had $892 in assets, so things were happening. I won't tell you too much about what we have for assets, but I will tell you we'll end the year over 400,000 in the cemetery assets. I don't talk about money, where it is or anything, because guess what? We start getting bills. We start getting bills from people, please pay this invoice or whatever. And Valerie, she knows to hover over where the thing came from, and she'll see it's not my email address, but it will comes in looking like it's from me, and but it's people, they're fishing, and they'll scam all of us. You know, the cemeteries aren't off limits. Since Bill's here, I'm going to talk about this for a minute. I don't know if anyone saw a news story this year about cemeteries. New law, the cemeteries had to have flag holders on veteran cemeteries. Nobody saw it besides me? You did? Okay. Bill, how long has the new law been out? You guys funded these, the first batch, when you were on the council. Yeah, so, yeah, so probably 12, 14 years the new law came out, but we saw it on news this year, so I got a chuckle out of it. New law, they got some time on Channel 13, putting flag holders out. Okay.
What does the new law say?
Pardon me?
And what does the new law say?
That each veteran grave shall have a flag holder.
And you shan't tamper with them.
I haven't read the law. I think they get tampered with because I think some of them grow legs and yeah, and I put more out every year, and the town funded enough the first year to put one on every grave that needed one. A lot of them had plastic flag holders and everything back then. A lot of those plastic ones have been broken since by the lawnmower or just the wind blowing the flags, whatever. So we put these out we put more and more out every year. And 1946, the cemetery decided to buy more land. They wanted to look at the option of buying more land. So they approached Owen Farwell and Perry Brunell. And Perry, for you who've been in Moss Side, this land is actually in the woods behind the fence. Owen Farwell owned the right-hand half behind the fence. Perry Brunell owned the left-hand side, each comprising of about an acre. Owen gave the acre to the town and actually cleared it himself and everything. Perry Brunell, I don't think we know what Perry paid. It doesn't say in the deed, and this is $1, you know, more or less, or whatever the language they used to use back then. But so we don't know what Perry paid. Another interesting thing that happened in 1950. They decided that there should be cement slabs put over caskets that didn't have a vault, and I think the way it was written, it made it sound like it was in place of the pine boxes, but the pine box still went in, and the slab went over it to avoid the casket rotting out and caving in. And we still spend a lot of money every year or every few years on sunken graves. The sunken graves will never go away, I don't think. It's here to stay. What
do you do with sunken graves?
Loam, more loam and grass seed. Yeah, we don't excavate. Yeah, just more loam. 1951, They asked the town for $75 to clear the land purchased from Perry Bonnell, and they also purchased a corporate seal and voted to increase the treasurer's pay to $25. Like I said, we are looking for a new treasurer, so we pay big bucks. This was pretty good. 52 was an active year. Bob Cram, most of you remember Bob. He was on the town council here with Bill Stiles back in the day, and he was able to get he served Cumberland well, and he was able to get $5,000 to establish the St. Clair Fund, which was a fund to help with the maintenance of the Foreside Cemetery. And later you'll see Bob was able to buy 2 more acres of land behind the cemetery, and nice flat land and everything, 2 acres for a whopping sum of $400. So he did well for us. Okay, apparently, I don't know how many, probably Sally Merrill might remember this. Do you remember a vault at Moss Side? A vault? For Carol remembers, yeah? Yeah, I don't remember this, but there was a vault apparently. They put the bodies.
When you went in the main road, there was a water faucet, and the vault was right near the water.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so apparently there was a vault where they would store the bodies until spring, and they asked the town for $475 to repair the vault, and the town says, good idea, but you can pay for it yourself. And, so, but I did find in later minutes that the town did reimburse them for it. 1955, President's stipend went up to $50. We're in a roll there, and the treasurer and clerk would still get $25. And they wanted to buy a sod lifter. I don't know what a sod lifter is. I guess it must have been to remove the sod before the graves were dug, and then they could put the sod back down afterwards. And this is a biggie here. In 1956, they wanted to buy a wheelbarrow with pneumatic tires. Move her along, And I didn't know wheelbarrows had tires back then. I thought they only had one, but they must have been. Must have had one with 2. This is about 1957. They voted to pay Glendon Doan and Lee White $1.25 an hour, and the improvement fund had grown at this point to $2,300. I forget what it was before, and anyhow, there's a lot of change in the guard here. And this is important here. After the meeting, ice cream and cake were served by the ladies. So, ladies, we meet every April. So, we all like ice cream and cake. Okay. Okay. The 1958. This is what I jumped ahead to a minute ago. Bob Cram was able to get 2 more acres of land behind Foreside Cemetery, 2 acres. And it's about 104 feet by 800 feet. It's a long piece that goes way back in the woods. And so Foreside has land, like I said, for several hundred years at least on the way. Pardon me?
Anybody buried there?
We probably, there's a field that's cleared that's probably the first 200 feet. So we sold lots back about 18 spaces times 4 feet. So we've sold we've sold spaces for about 72 feet out of the 800. So we have a long ways to go. And
Coast Guard guy's buried?
pardon me?
The Coast Guard guy and his wife, are they buried in the new acreage?
The Coast Guard guy is no, he's not. He's buried near the back of the old section. I forget his name. Not McDonald, is it? Donaldson. Yeah. Why are you interested in Donaldson?
They used to be my neighbors when I was a kid.
Oh, no kidding.
When I was a kid.
Yeah. Okay. 1960, they authorized president to buy lawnmower and rakes if needed. Ines Blanchard, who was, you'll see in a little bit what she did for the association, but she donated the money to put the fence at Methodist Cemetery, and it said a plaque would be placed in her memory. Have you ever seen the plaque, Brian? I haven't seen the plaque. Yeah. So maybe we owe Inez a plaque. You know. So. Okay. 1964, I talked about this a little bit, monumental year for Shebig Island. Mrs. McCall of Pennsylvania bequeathed $10,000 for the care of the cemetery where the McCall family relatives are buried. And later, it got expanded to allow those dollars to be used for the entire Shebig Cemetery. And like I said, in 2006, was it? 2007, that Shebig broke away from Cumberland. The association gave the $10,000 back, as well as a percentage of everything else we had in assets. And here it says, it was voted to start clearing away trees for Allen Cemetery and straightening stones. Peter wrote, this is the first reference to another cemetery. To my knowledge, we've never spent money on a private cemetery before or after, and I don't know why this was done. And the people the homeowners a few years ago approached us. I think there was some discussion on the town taking ownership of the cemetery, but that fell through. And as I understand the reason it fell through, they had exactly 4 acres of land, which meant they had it was dividable into 2 lots. And if they gave that little piece of land for the cemetery, the land was no longer able to be divided. So does that ring a bell with you, Bill? No. Okay. Okay, and then 1965, Lee White described what he did over to Allen. He added loam, seeded, straightened monuments, and installed a white picket fence. He said the fence can easily be seen from the road. Then this was kind of funny. The trustees authorized $500 for the fence if we can find a fence in keeping with the old cemetery. Well, the price came at $3,000, so the fence was out of the question, and then he could fix the present fence for $1,500, and the trustees didn't really want the fence fixed. They thought that was impractical and subject to vandalism. Some of the old cemetery notes will show that the children used to break the points off the fence. So those children, you have to watch them. And anyhow, the fence wasn't repaired. And what they eventually decided to do was put the chain up, the chain link fence, which I don't think that was in keeping with the old cemetery either. And I don't know if anyone's noticed what's happening now in the center, but some big old trees are gone. that big old ugly spruce tree that should have been taken down in 1965, you know, but it still was standing, a big oak tree. And well, what's happening, the chain link fence is coming out. The sidewalk will be cut back to the where the fence is now, and there'll be about an 18-inch high granite curb along the whole cemetery, and the sidewalk will go back to the curb. And this will set the stage later if somebody wants to come and dump $500,000 into a nice wrought iron fence. It'll look great up here with this, with this, oh, the Wilsons are donating? The Wilson girls, all right. Yeah, so, but anyhow, come next Memorial Day, I vision a nice wide sidewalk for people to walk on, families sitting on this 18-inch high granite curbing, watching the parade go by. You know, I think it's going to be a nice enhancement. And we're lucky that I discussed my vision with Bill Shane and Chris Boldick. At the same time, this PAC money was coming in from Pullen Area Council of Government to do the sidewalk improvements. So to my knowledge, it's not costing the cemetery or the town a dime for what you're seeing happening. Not directly a dime anyway, you know. In 65, wanted to purchase a lawnmower for the center, authorized purchase of rakes and clippers, raise the treasurer's pay up to 100. Any takers yet? And hourly rate for work is $1.50. That's where I am right now. And suggest buying a lawnmower for Shebig Island to avoid rental fees. And each cemetery pretty much had its own superintendent, and he'd be getting $25 an hour. And this is where they learned the McCall Fund would no longer be restricted just to the McCall family burial sites. It was, they could use it for the whole cemetery. It's something the McCall family did, some kind of release. McCall did a release on it, yeah. Well, it was built into the original thing for so many years. I don't know what it said. And this is what I told you where Methodist Cemetery, I showed you in the slide way back, where they bought some of the stuff says 15 or 16 feet behind the cemetery and 100 feet towards the turnpike. And they bought that from, would you believe, a Wilson. Henry Wilson. Yeah.
I found that, actually.
You found the deed?
Yeah.
I have it at home somewhere. But I have too much stuff at home somewhere. Okay. In 1969, we were still a members organization, which meant to be a member of the association, you had to sign a book. The book that was the cleaning lady put on the recycle bin that turned out to be in the attic. So, for a quorum, you need 7 people to show up at these meetings, and there were only 6. But it appears they still did some business, and the president was to get $50, and you take his head on the treasurer's job, $150, and here they talked about again fixing the fence, and everybody knew Helva Merrill, I'm sure, and Helva says, you know, we're not dumping any money in it until the town stops plowing snow into it, ruining the fence. And I didn't know about this. And in recent years, I actually went to the town and said, you guys are killing us. You're knocking over, you know, you're knocking over stones. And they weren't plowing. They actually were snow blowing, but they were goosenecking it right back down into the cemetery. So you got all this slushy stuff freezing. It was raising the devil with the stones along by the road. And so since they've raised the chute up, so they spread the snow. throughout the cemetery, and so finally the problem is gone away. But so anyhow, the trustees felt no money should be spent on the fence, rather it should be replaced, and they voted to put the fence along the backside of Foreside Cemetery with an opening for people to walk through, and that's pretty well traveled. I don't know, any of you walk the woods behind Foreside? It's a nice little hidden treasure that not many people, few people know about. It's pretty heavily traveled, but it's a nice. Yeah, well, there used to be the high school lounge down there with chairs and recliners, you name it. So we got the woods. We had the woods cleaned out quite a bit. We trimmed up and everything, and we did away with the senior lounge. In 1969, Halva was finally elected to be the president. And here again, didn't want to build the fence until the town stopped bulldozing snow into the fence. And Ernest Fry, a few of you remember Ernest, he asked to have a tree removed down in the back of Foreside near his lot, and his request was declined as others like the tree. The tree is still standing, and we inspected it. We inspected it a few years ago when we took some hazardous trees out and determined it was still good for a few more years. And in 1979, some of you remember when you got these crazy rates on CDs, and the trustees voted to put $8,000 into a CD, paying 7.5%. And actually, I wanted to put money into a CD this year, and we ended up putting it into a bond fund with Fidelity. So. Okay, here we go. Any takers for the president's job yet? up to 300. So 1978, the president's salary got raised to 300. Hourly rate would be $265. Maximum would be $4. And the association would pay for the person going to the Maine Cemetery Association, which I try to attend every year, and we learn a lot from it. And we're actually probably league leaders right now in municipal cemetery maintenance and mapping database, the whole bit. But it took years to get to where we are. And so President Treasurer went to $500, Secretary $100, and then custodians of the various cemeteries, which we don't have anymore, $125 each. And Foresight Universalists, they got an increase. And 1986, the meeting was at the firehouse, and Rich and Diane Calder, for you remember Milt Calder, the policeman, Rich and Diane were his parents. Donna Damon attended, and Blanchard Bates from the island. And that's the time they took the sign from the, apparently from the back of Foreside, back where the entrance is in the old section. They moved the sign out to the road. And 24 stones got knocked off their bases one noon. Where were you in 1986, Caroline? And the smaller stones were reset by association people with this tractor, and the town cruised to the bigger ones. 1987, President Treasurer, $750. No, Mike? Any hands? Okay. Superintendents, which we only have one superintendent now, and the superintendent is actually our maintenance contractor. And you'll see in a few minutes, in 1997 is when we took on Stilke as a contractor, and we paid Stilke $19,000 in 1997, and this year we paid $36,000. So we've done okay, I think, on holding the line on maintenance cost. But apparently not paying enough for treasury yet. Okay, this is where it gets good. Who remembers Medley Watson, Bill? Okay, Medley owned the land. Medley owned the land in front of the cemetery where you're smiling too, Sally. Medley owned the land in front where the Veterans Monument is, the new section of the cemetery, and he wanted to sell it to the town for $65,000, but offered it to the town for $55,000, and the president replied it was out of the question. The town had appraised for $46,200, so we almost lost out there. But the story gets better. In about 1992, the association contracted with Larry Lathrop, who started up a suburban lawn care business, and he did the cemeteries except for Foresight. And does anybody know why he didn't do Foresight? Bob Graham told him stay out of Foresight. So Bob Graham says wouldn't even allow Larry to. And Larry was president. He was president. I don't know if he was president at that time, but Bob Graham would not let him into the cemetery for some reason. And so in 1992, Medley offered the land now, $65,000, with a promise to return $15,000 to the association. And Phil Chase went and talked to Bob Benson, who was the town manager. Bob was a little more difficult to deal with than Bill Shane is. And Bob thought it was a good idea to buy it. However, the association should buy it. And the association doesn't buy cemeteries. The town owns the cemeteries where we just take care of the things. And so this went back and forth. And so eventually, the council, were you on the council at the time, Bill? Agreed? Yeah. Agreed to fund the purchase, to lend the association the money. But no terms were discussed on paying it back. And I don't think the association had any intent to pay it back. And so this went round and round. And so 1994, Mark Brainerd became a trustee. Ray Seekins resigned. Here's what the association looked like in 1996. Herb Foster, Larry Lathrop, and Bud Stratton, Mark Brainerd, myself, Diane Calder, and Peter McKinney. And in 1997, we raised the price of a burial space, or a grave, or a lot, which not a lot, a grave or a space, to $400. And here's where I said, Stilke got the contract for $19,000. He's the funds back then were with Merrill Lynch. Merrill Lynch, I don't know just what, I can't recall it all, but this is time some of these companies and everything were defaulting on their loans, the money and everything, and Merrill Lynch had invested municipal funds with, or not municipal, cemetery funds, organizational funds, with some of these people that went belly up. And Merrill Lynch ultimately got sued for losing these people's money, and I don't know how it ever came out, but Merrill Lynch has cut all ties, as I understand it, with nonprofits. They won't deal with us now, and however, our money is indirectly invested with Fidelity, and well, hopefully a happy end of the Medley Watson land purchase happened in 1999. The president reported the town had written off the $60,000 loan. Thanks, Bill. The town appropriated $6,000 to our budget for 1999. In 2000, Larry Lathrop decided he would not run for re-election as president or as a trustee. However, I believe he decided to stay on as a trustee. Carolyn Small, some of you know Carolyn, was elected trustee, and Robert Storey was elected president to fill his Larry's former role. Gee, we're going to be running out here. The trustees met twice in 2011 to adopt new rules and regulations. At that time, like I said, we'd been a members organization. We'd been a members organization all those years, but now we've restructured, and we're, I believe it's called a perpetuating board, and no longer a members thing. We allow up as little as 5 trustees, up to 15 trustees. So if anybody is interested in becoming a trustee before they become a treasurer, you know, we're always ready to take on more trustees. And that backs up a little bit to the funds that were held in the Perpetual Care. There was a congregational fund, which McCall and St. Clair, those are the only 2 I know where the money came from. Methodist probably came from a Wilson. Take credit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's what the town had, and so that's the end of my historical notes. I know.
Thank you very much, Robert. That was fascinating. We have a little gift for you here.
Oh, wowee.
And if you don't like the color, we've got other colors.
All right. I have the other color.
You have the, oh, you have, okay.
I have the other color, so this is perfect. Thank you.
Would you rather have the mugs? Do you have the mugs?
I'd rather have the hat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very
Yeah.
good. Very
Yeah.
good. Thank you very much. There was still
Good
in
night.
the back. Help yourself.
Thank
you.
you.
So much. That was great.
Yeah.